Report. I unfortunately didn't get the chance to proofread this, but wanted to share it. I really should be working on my treatise if I want to be serious about it, but here we are. I've spoken about my fear of DMT, despite my frequency of low-level experience, but never really why. I've certainly broken through my fair share of times. But the idea at this point and for the past few years tends to send me into feelings of sheer terror, despite having managed past experiences so well, hence why I keep coming back for more. One thing I haven't mentioned in the past with regard to my anxiety, partly because I do find it a little embarrassing, is that when my anxiety reaches a certain point I experience tremors, where my extremities in particular begin shaking. This happens when I'm trying to hit a heavy dose, making hitting said heavy dose a great deal more difficult. I had slight tremors tonight. Sandwiching 30 milligrams plus of harmine between cannabis layers, I sat at my altar, playing the song Darjeeling that I have chosen as my meditation song for months now. In full lotus, I took several deep breaths, and opened my sacred space. After welcoming and thanking the cannabis and harmine extracted from Rue for their presence in my meditation, I proceeded to smoke the bowl from my ritual bong. Noticing my thoughts straying from the present moment, I calmly and gently redirected my awareness to the glass piece in my left hand and the experience of smoking these medicinal and centering substances. Harmalas help me to get to where I'm going in meditation and are very fulfilling to explore for me. Some may say I'm cheating when I use such a supplement. I don't smoke them every time I meditate. And while I've always found meditation difficult in the long time I've practiced, harmalas are a welcome change, since they enforce a meditative state. But I really don't care. I suppose one thing that has always helped, for good reasons and bad, is that some of my first and most intense breakthroughs have been with other people around. The positives to this is mainly the element of felt support. It's psychological. A negative is having the idea of not wanting to look like a chump in front of spectators. That's hubris. Granted, this was also around 15 years ago when I was a second-year student in college. I tend to only smoke DMT alone now, as the times and tides change, and I don't really know anyone in my immediate vicinity that I would like to journey with outside of a guide work setting and intention. Meditating, calmly, balanced and steadfast, I moved in flux between states of simply being to corrective thinking, to philosophic musing, to exploratory thought, to interacting with what slight visuals I was experiencing. I was suspended in my analyses, without judgment, only varying degrees of interest. Observational and indifferent. The first experience delivered some insights to me about me that to this day I'm still so uncomfortable with. What's funny, is they weren't necessarily bad. So I ended up doing it 2 more times the same night, either to get the retraction or to receive understanding. Probably why I was so utterly thrown in the third experience, somehow being in the experience for over 50 minutes, according to a friend at least. I recall coming back, with my face in my friend's chest, while we were laying on my bed, me asking why the hell he was holding me, him telling me that I asked him to because I thought I was dying, realizing I was back in my meat suit, in shock by the world I returned to, then running to the bathroom to vomit from my sense of shock. And this wasn't even what some may call a hyperslap. So indifferent in fact, that while reflecting on how my mind magnifies things a great deal more than is necessary, and thinking about specific instances in which something was not that hard or was more of a success than my mind would allow me to think it could be, I also began reflecting on the sort of **** mentality that I have felt is necessary to adopt in the past few weeks. This sent chills down my spine immediately, as my rocket mod with Divine Tribe V4 Crucible that always has at least 10 milligrams of DMT in it. The 5th time was the closest thing that I'd ever come to a hyper slap, wherein one feels they are being punished. It's what I get since she told me to hold off, and I went back again anyway, around 20 minutes later, because I didn't want to waste it after sending others off and there still being some in the bowl. This precipitated a 6-year hiatus. To be fair, I also couldn't find it again in that time, and didn't realize that I could extract it, both in the sense of the process being accessible to a layman and the sense of my confidence in myself to do so. I instead grabbed my Changa pipe, which is always loaded, even with something that I started smoking at some point in the past. I rarely finish a whole bowl in one sitting. I had taken my usual hits, while already dosed on Harmalas, both smoked and drank/oral, and go further. It's also a bit more to manage, especially with the added Harmala component. So, I took several very small hits until I reached the level I was comfortable with. Visuals were ever so slight, but much more apparent and obvious than the Harmalas alone. I was seeing the other side, even if not vividly. It was the inspiration to write this. When I did come across it again, things were great for a while. But as I began working with it more, things began to change. While my relationship and bond deepened, the depths that I'd go comfortably became shallower. It simply became harder to handle. It also keeps getting weirder. While these experiences are of the utmost value to me in my mind, thinking, and being, well then what the hell was the me then, right? It's come to a point that with that depth of experience I can't tell you how or why it's valuable to me. The reason is ineffable. I had experienced energetic discharge before, but never like tonight. It began as it usually does. Full body and a great deal of shaking in the arms and shoulders. I always allow it to run its course without preference or judgment, being aware that it is a healing action that my body is taking through its input with my psychological flow with their mind-body connection. It's healing. But the healing was almost violent tonight. Breathing deeply, steadying myself in the moment and movement, I allowed it to reach its apex, being somewhat winded and out of breath by the end, by staying with my breath through the entirety of the discharge period. It's all in the breath. This is kind of why when I do break through now, it's by surprise and accident, and typically I end up thinking, oh. It doesn't help that my sensitivity, which is already high, seems to have increased, with breakthroughs occurring between 10 milligrams and 15 milligrams. Last time I did 10 milligrams was a lot more than I anticipated. There was also a long period where my experiences were on the darker side, which I find takes more mindfulness and willpower to navigate and integrate thereafter. Then there are those that give an ominous vibe in weird ways, but are completely fine and enjoyable, still kinda kicking myself for inadvertently casting judgment on entities that I miserized until they imparted me with gifts. They scared me at first. Granted, while I used to eat around 7 grams of mushrooms every time, because I didn't know any better the first time and just kept going from there, a gram intimidates me now depending on the strain. A lot of this difficulty can be attributed to my constant battle and management of depression. It has a way of influencing me to avoid that which I enjoy, like love, what's beneficial, therapeutic, etc. Endogenous brainwashing. Blissfully floating on a sea of awareness, but not listening to the actual song. I wrote out the rest of the experience, allowing myself the feeling, goodness and healing, and being aware that it was a gift to myself that I'm deserving of. While I had been getting much more comfortable approaching DMT, and am releasing some of my standards of justification, such as allowing myself to go far enough to see something. Why I can't allow myself this is beyond me aside from what's already been shared. I'm neurotic. I'm still not quite there to send myself the distance. However, I have taken a step in that direction by not judging myself for where I am now. It's all good. Truly. I know what I'd like, but where I am is also satisfactory. Thank you for reading. I hope you enjoyed. One love. What if the truth is indiscernible/unknowable/non-existent? Then the closest we get is through being true to and with ourselves. Know thyself, nothing in excess. Certainty brings insanity. Delphic maxims. DMT always has something new to show you. Question everything, including questioning everything. There's so much I could be wrong about and have no idea. All posts and supposed experiences are from an imaginary interdimensional being. This being has the proclivity and compulsion for delving in depths it shouldn't. Posts should be taken with a grain of salt.